Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jim Kleiber Show. Today is Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. It is kind of dreary outside. The clouds are rolling in, the clouds are here, and winter is coming. Oh, it's cold. I don't really have a specific topic for today. I'm going to turn my phone off so I'm not distracted. Um, but if anyone wants to join in, please join in, ask questions, and we can go from there. Otherwise, I will just riff on something that comes to mind. What to riff on? What to riff on? Okay, the first one that came to mind was this idea. I look over and I see some empty beer cans. And it's, just curious how many people have turned to alcohol throughout this pandemic. Whether alcohol has been something that you are using more or using less. Perhaps some people are becoming very addicted to alcohol. Maybe we're turning towards a beer at home, or we're turning towards liquor or wine or something like that. And others of us are not. I found it strange that I've actually turned away from beer. I think one of the reasons I have a few beer cans here on the table is to remind me that I've had beer twice. I guess if you include these, maybe 3 times since the pandemic started. Once at a friend's bachelor party in the backyard, and once at a friend's house at the lake outside, and here at the beginning of a writing project that I started back in April. So for me, I haven't really turned to alcohol too much. I've turned to a little bit of rum here and there, but not too much. I think because for me, alcohol is more of a thing I do when I'm out socializing with others. When I go to the bar and I want to hang out with other people, I'm going to drink. There are only so many options to drink. It's either beer or alcohol or juice or pop or soda of some sort, or what else? Red Bull or coffee or tea or water. It's pretty much it. It's pretty much the options. I don't drink coffee. I don't really drink that much tea. I don't drink that much juice. I don't drink that much pop or soda at all. And so it's like, do I just drink alcohol or beer or water? So I don't want to drink water the whole time. So I find out, when I go out to the restaurants and bars, a lot of times I'm drinking beer just to have something other than water to drink. And so for me, I found that my beer intake has dramatically reduced over this pandemic. But I can imagine for other people it has been the opposite, where they're at home and they want to go out but they can't, and they're a lot of times maybe for them going out is less about seeing the people and it's more about the drinking. And so maybe the drinking is something that they do at home anyways. Maybe people are going through different levels of stress and turning to alcohol at home. I don't know. I really find it fascinating that in a way, so many of us started going off through the same experience. We have the same external factor that's pressing on us, this idea about the virus. But it plays out in so many different ways in our own households that it's hard to know what other people are going through right now. Especially because we're not leaving the house. There's so many of us are barely leaving the house. And so it's hard to know what's going on in other people's households. And even if we are leaving the house, perhaps we're not going into somebody else's house. And so I'm left to wonder and to imagine, has this been a net negative or a net positive? Or, is there a lot of anger? Is a lot of frustration, stress? Is there joy, gratitude? Like, what are people feeling? What are people doing? What are people getting addicted to? Are people getting addicted to beer and alcohol, or are people getting addicted to cigarettes now that they're at home, or more addicted? Are people getting more addicted to video games or porn, or what else? Talking or social media or the news? What are people getting addicted to? What are people giving up? Are people giving up any of those things? Who are people fighting with? Are they fighting with people online? Are they fighting with people in the house? Are they fighting with themselves? Who, like, who are people talking to? Are they talking to people in the house? Are they talking to people on social media? Are they talking to people on the phone? Are they talking to people on Zoom? Are they talking to colleagues? Are they talking to family members? Are they talking to old friends that they haven't talked to in a long time? Who are we talking to? Like, I guess my curiosity can go rampant. Just like, I wonder what's going on in the lives of other people. Are there people getting into like physical fights at home? Is there like a huge rise in domestic abuse and domestic violence? Are people resolving conflict that they've had for years because now they can't run away, and so that they're sitting down and actually working through things? Are people, what are people doing? So, friend chimes in, trying to start a Facebook group. It's a challenge. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's a trick, trying to get so many people to pay attention to one thing. And then if they are paying attention, how to moderate it and manage it. I experimented a little bit with creating a community. It's kind of like a Facebook group, but it's this community called Circle. It's a platform called Circle. And I experimented a little bit with it, and I thought, oh, this is a lot of work. If there's a lot of people on here talking, then, somebody's got to kind of stir the conversation, manage the conversation, moderate the conversation, get people to keep coming back. It's kind of like hosting a dinner party, but the 24/7 dinner party that's online. It requires a lot of work to get people to come, to get people to talk, to get people to stay. And imagine now is a time when a lot of people are online, but one of the challenges of being online is that there's so many different avenues, so many different places we can go online. So that's another question. Where are people going online these days? Are people going to TikTok? Are they going to Facebook? Are they going to YouTube? Are they going to blogs? Are they going to news sites? Are we going to, what are we going to? Video games again, like people playing a lot of games online. I don't know. It could be so, it baffled me, it really shocked me the other day. I was sitting here with the family and I was like, wow, when they're looking at their devices and I'm looking at my device, we don't know where the other person is going unless we look over the shoulder or ask. I have no idea what websites they're looking at. They have no idea what websites or apps I'm looking at. Fascinating how there's so much privacy in some way from the people around us. But because a lot of this is tracked, there's not that much privacy from the Facebooks and the Googles. And I was just amazed that, like, even within our own household, it's hard to know who people are talking to or what people are reading or what they're doing, because these devices almost let us transport or teleport to different places. Maybe people, a lot of people are trying to start businesses now at home, right? Maybe you lost your job, or you thought of, you're always been thinking about starting a side business, or who knows what. But there's opportunity to try to start a business or to try to start a community, as my friend Andrew said, to try to start a Facebook group and stimulate conversation. Lots of us are trying lots of different things, some things that are helping us and some things that are hurting us. And it's just this combination of just kind of trying to tread water and trying to swim while there's a virus out there that's wreaking havoc on our health and our economy. I don't know. Who out there is listening? What questions do you have? What comments do you have? Chime in and we can take this in a live direction. Facebook group. Andrew, do you have anything? If you're still there, do you have anything to talk about with regards to the Facebook group? What is challenging about starting a Facebook group, especially now during a pandemic? The challenge of having... he says it's kind of scary. Why is it kind of scary to start a Facebook group? And I'm trying to recognize the dynamics. If I could speak faster than most people can type, obviously. Spoken language is typically much faster than typed language, depending on the person. So try to be mindful of that. While I wait for his answer, I know for me, I think it's definitely scary to try to host people in general. I'm not the type of person who likes to host parties at my house or to host, big events, because then in a way, I feel responsible to make sure that everyone's having a good time. I put that pressure on myself a lot. And the thing with doing an in-person event is that typically I'll know most of the people who are coming. And so then I can manage a lot of the conversations. But I think sometimes with online conversations, strangers can show up, but we have no idea who they are or what their background is or what they're trying to do. And so it could be really, really complex and can scare the heck out of us to try to manage those conversations. That's another question. How are people meeting new people during this time? Are people meeting new people? Are we going to networking events? Are we going to conferences, like virtual conferences? Are people meeting each other on dating apps? Are people meeting through LinkedIn or Facebook? How are people meeting? Maybe people aren't meeting. Maybe we're just kind of hunkering down into our own little zones. I don't know. I think it's so easy for us sometimes to get stuck into our world and assume that people are doing the same things that we are. But no. There's a really good chance that people aren't doing anything like what we're doing. Now, to be fair, I think in some ways there are. So if you look at some of the businesses that have taken off during the pandemic, it's reminded me that at the root level, we are all still human and going through many of the same experiences. So the fact that the portable space heaters for outdoors have jumped up, been selling like crazy, is because people want to sit outside so they can not wear a mask, and it's getting cold. So those have been taking off like crazy. Lysol disinfectant wipes have been taking off like crazy. Toilet paper have been taking off like crazy. Webcams took off like crazy in the beginning. I'm not sure if they still are. Microphones and a lot of this stuff for streaming or for doing Zoom calls. I'm sure those like green screen backgrounds also were a hot commodity. What else? Things related to what many of us are now doing. And I laughed because people were like, oh, what's this Zoom software? I said, Zoom, man. I've had Zoom since 2014. I think definitely 2015. Like I've definitely had it for 5 or 6 years, and people are like, oh, Zoom. I'm like, wow, people are finally on Zoom. But I realized it wasn't that I was necessarily special. It's that I was doing things that other people weren't. Most people were working in offices, whereas I was trying to run online workshops. And so I looked for a software that was better than Skype, and I found Zoom, and Zoom had the tools to help me do that. It wasn't that I was smarter or more special. It's just that my environment was different. I was trying to do something different. And now that other people are in a very similar environment, they're using the same tools. Makes sense. So I think sometimes we can think that we are either ahead of the crowd or even behind the crowd, but it really is more about just the different environmental situation we're in, our context that changes. It's tricky now. It's like everyone's starting a podcast. Everyone's starting a Facebook group, or not everyone, but a lot of people are starting podcasts or Facebook groups or new apps or new websites or new Zoom calls or Zoom fitness classes. There's a lot of competition, but at the same time, there's a lot of people at home who aren't going out, and so a lot of their form of entertainment of interacting with the world is through the computer. So while there's a lot of competition for the production side, there's also a lot of people on the consumer side. There's a lot of supply, but there's also a lot of demand. So I don't know. When it comes to running a group, I'm not sure what kind of challenges you're facing, Andrew, but I would love to hear, and I'd love to see if we could kind of go back and forth on that. But one of the challenges with using this platform, I'm using a platform called StreamYard, and I really like it for its simplicity in terms of streaming, in terms of broadcasting to multiple channels and to Facebook, to Periscope, which is owned by Twitter, and to YouTube at the same time. And I think it does a few others as well. If you want, it can do Twitch and some other ones. What I like about it is the simplicity of it. What I don't like is that it says, doesn't say who's watching. It just shows the number of people who are watching right now. And so I don't necessarily know who's there until they comment. If I had maybe a better setup and a couple monitors, maybe I could have Facebook open and YouTube so I could see who's there. But yeah. I don't know. Did you ever wake up during a day and just think that today was not the day to do something? And you kind of fought your way through it. You look outside and you go, it just feels like a weekend. It just feels like a holiday today. But then you still got to get up and go for it. It's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling like this episode may be a little bit shorter just because why not? Not everything has to be 30 minutes. Not everything has to stick to the goal. Sometimes we can improvise and do our thing. So I'm going to cut this one short today. Just going to relax, and sometimes we just need to take it slow and not push ourselves all the time. Recognize when the body doesn't want to do something and listen to it a little more. Just feels quiet, Heater's not going. There's not a lot of noise outside. Sometimes it's just nice to slow down and not try to be productive and efficient. And as this one author, Derek Sivers, says, and I hope you pronounce it as Sivers. He said he spent a lot of time trying to be useful. It put a lot of stress on him, trying to be useful to others, try to be as useful as possible. He said, the more he tried to be useful, the more he ended up treating himself like a tool to others, because tools are useful. He said when he stopped putting that pressure on himself, he relaxed a lot in life. And so I think I've put a lot of pressure on these podcasts to be useful for other people, and maybe not just entertaining. Sometimes it's just fun to entertain. Arguably, it's still useful in a way. It's just not as seriously useful. So, yeah. Unless somebody makes a comment in the next minute or two, I am going to slowly fade away and go off the internet for now. And nobody jumped at the bit, so I want to say, just remember we're all going through different things right now, and we're all going through the same thing. It's hard for us to know what other people are experiencing. The easiest way to know is to ask. Actually, the easiest way to know is to tell other people, because sometimes we don't want to ask. We don't know which questions to ask. So opening up and sharing with other people what we're going through may seem selfish, may seem bothersome to the other person, but I think many of us are a lot more curious than we appear to be, and we'd love to hear what other people are going through. So if you want to open up and share with me what you're going through right now, I'd appreciate it. I hope that some of these podcasts give you a little insight into what my day-to-day life is like here in the bubble, the quarantine, the pandemic, whichever 2020 phrase you want to use. But yeah, I think most of us are just curious what's going on with a lot of other people, and love to hear when people that we care about open up and share what's going on in their lives on the day-to-day, but also the long-term perspective. So on that note, I hope you all have a wonderful Tuesday, if it's still Tuesday in your time zone, and see you tomorrow. Take care, y'all.